people continue, these are people of modest means, continue to elect these rich cocksuckers who don't give a fuck about them. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care about you at all. At all. At all. You know? And nobody seems to notice, nobody seems to care. That's what the owners count on, the fact that Americans will probably remain willfully ignorant of the big red, white, and blue dick that's being jammed up their assholes every day. Because the owners of this country know the truth. It's called the American dream, but you have to be asleep to believe it.
I think that's quite good. So we're interested area. Look at it in terms of these news agencies, these like international news agencies, which, if you look into it, are run by these big same rich families that control all the banks, control all the corporate interests, right? So these are the news agencies which, the private and global national news agencies, these are people who provide all information on international and national events deemed fit for public viewing to the mainstream media. That's why they always reference this all coming from Reuters. Anything that comes out of any war zone, Reuters, or any some of these other groups. All controlled and filtered. Soon to be independent, but it is influenced by big corporate, military, political, economic, and intelligence groups. When people look up that, you shouldn't take more than half an hour to get a good grasp of this if you actually try researching into it, which I'm sure most people have. What are some examples of some of these big news agencies? Reuters, Associated Press, AP, Press Association, BBC News, Al Jazeera, Interpress Services. All these things, if you look into who owns them, you can see a whole other setup that exists. A lot of people, academics have written about propaganda models and formation, like Noam Chomsky, he's written a lot on it. Very, very good books, I recommend them. The mainstream media directly and indirectly implies to the public that politicians are the top decision makers with no influence from corporate and bank interests. Population in England are constantly called Queen's Head. And they repeat it. Keep repeating it, regurgitate it, repeat it. People believe it. There's nothing else higher than it, you know. That's so all this idea of banking interests and all these other groups, that's completely ignored. And due to indoctrination, people can't even comprehend that there's people at higher up levels. Well, that's a very important point to make. So the media provides the limits for the box in which most people's perceptions exist.
The media always quote the US president as the most powerful man in the world. Yeah. They do it all the time. It's just to reinforce the concept.
Here's an interesting one. When you look at like rich list, who's rich? Bill Gates. Bill Gates hasn't even a scrap on some of these big people. Families reckon we worth like trillions. As I said before, if some of these big people woke up, Bill Gates would jump out the window, but we can't repeat it, and that's what it's all about. So who controls and decides what information you can and cannot be informed about? People have thought about that. Who makes that decision? No one's all controlled. So in a simple diagram, if you're to look at the news agencies and how they operate and so forth, you have an event occurs, or if it's a PSYOPs where you have a required reaction from the public, false flag attack or something. That goes down as reported by private news agencies who have a policy to uphold. And then that goes down to private media and a government-owned media who have a policy to force. And then that comes down to you. So how can it be possible under any situation that information that you get from the mainstream media is going to be honest and frank? No, because it's had to come through so many levels of filtration that you're not going to see anything related to what actually happened. But remember, this is something which isn't discussed or talked about. Then talking about how these things, mainstream media can just put forward distractions from reality. All these pointless celebrities which we're taught to look up to, like Michael Jackson, the day he died, it was an 8-hour live feed on Sky News of his funeral. 8 hours! A billion people starving, people being blown together around the world, all sorts of crazy things happen. 8 hours, And then you have, the future of like people all around the world, their kids being sold off, putting the country into massive debt, and all these bailouts for all these banks. It's just incredible. Absolutely incredible. Then you have this constant push for, oh God, these kids, what happened to them? It's terrible, they got killed. And, we care about children and push up certain stories and, make out that they care. And at the very same time, whoa, no time, we're not going to talk about any kids getting blown up around the world. They decided there's a policy there in place. You're not to see that. You're not to see kids getting blown up in war zones. You're not to see children affected by the uranium in war zones. You're not to see or hear about certain cases like Holly Gregg. You know, that's the policy in place. That's our policy. You're not going to hear about that. Complete celebrity saturation in the culture, you know, that we have. Looking up to these people who couldn't care less. They really have no influence or impact in better society. They do nothing. And, you know, we'll talk more about that later. And at the same time, billions of people starving around the world. This is all the people look up to as meaningless celebrities. And to point that out, that there's a contrast there, means there's something wrong with it, to most people. Just like, absolutely bizarre. Complete sports saturation in the culture as well. Oh, this is all distraction. Here, we can't provide you free, education or something, but we can make sure you get to see as much sport as you want, nice and cheap, subsidised.
Reinforces competition as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, completely. Works at so many levels. And in sport, it can also push through all this nationalistic tendencies and stuff, you know.
Divisive and really.
Completely. And at the same time, mass genocide going on around the world, no one cares. Couldn't care less. Some guy overfed and overpaid in the UN makes a decision if he's going to call it genocide or not. Otherwise, it's just a little local civil disturbance, you know. People put up with this. This is what we live with. Crazy. And you got this just absolute tripe, lacking all form of artistic expression and everything, you know. And this is what people look up to, wondering what's going on with, I don't know, creative thinking and human spirit and stuff. And this is the crap that we're fed. You feed a child absolute groom, he's not going to grow up properly, you know. So you feed their mind this kind of nonsense, and that's what's going to happen. And at the same time, well, slave labour all around the world. Clothes, all products in our houses, all slave labour. You know, no one's talking about that. That's just completely ignored. That's a policy that's in place. You're not to know about these things, you know. It's and this is all in place by the media in conjunction with these people. In summary, we cannot trust the privately owned mainstream media, controlled by a handful of multi-billion-pound corporations with private political, social, and business agendas, to provide us with the information we use to build our own and our families' perceptions of the world. You know. So now we got the subconscious level. This is like. It's one of the more tricky ones to talk about. I don't want to be lecturing anyone or saying that out loud. I'm writing anything, but I'm just like putting together as much information as I can on these things. But subconscious is a very tricky one. It's very hard to summarise, but a lot of interest in academic work behind it. Subconscious part of the mind is the part of the mind below level of conscious perception. I mean, the subconscious conditioning can be delivered to the media. Any kind. So you got the whole of it in conscious and subconscious. If you look at most theories about how mind works, any psychologists, they always build around to suggest that conscious mind makes up about 10% of the human mind that operates, and subconscious is, you know, around 90%. Everything that you see, every face, every colour, every pattern, straight into your subconscious mind and stored there, and then it influences your conscious mind. That's how things work. That's why advertising works. You see, every day you're exposed to tens of thousands of ads. Every product you see, there's a label, a bag, you know, logo on it. Everywhere you walk the street, you know. This is why you see it enough. It affects you. You buy these products, and you think these products are actually good, even if they're crap or they're inferior to other products. You know, that's why you pay thousands to get advertising places. Neuro-linguistic programming. Most people might know about that. There's all these certain hypnotic techniques and so forth, where you can like implant subconscious thoughts in people. This is unproven. You can reference all these papers all day long and people still reject them. And then you go, well, that's all nonsense. Yeah, why is CIA and all these other groups invest in hundreds of millions in research now? You know, there's something going on there. But the subconscious level, it's about, you know, in basic form, it's very hard to summarise, but trigger, piece of a trigger or stimulus to induce the subconscious reactions that influences the conscious mind. And the main ideas of it's a Pavlovian condition. There's loads of different forms of conditioning. But Pavlov was this Russian vet who he's working at veterinary, he's also working in psychology. He discovered this idea of Pavlovian condition, it's a subconscious conditioning, where it works like if you get a dog, you present food to the dog will see the food, and he will, salve it, produce saliva. Now he can't consciously